All right, it's June 2nd, 2020. After a long weekend, I'm Jermaine Russell, and after a long weekend of seeing protests and seeing what sparked the protests, which was deaths among fellow Black Americans and fellow melanated people, not just here, but like across the world. There's some type of protest that's going on where police brutality is the center of attention and has not gotten the shine of light of day that it should have been receiving. This picture here says a whole lot to me. This picture has been one of the main reasons why, for like a good portion of 2018 going into 2019, I stayed at home. Because this is the general feeling that I received. This is the general feeling that I had resonating with inside my soul. So, like, part of the reason why I even started trading was because of Trayvon Martin. So, with that being said, the spirit of him lives within us. The spirit of our ancestors live within us, and we do want to make world a whole lot better than what it is right now. So, with that being said, I don't care how hard that it is hard for you to look at this picture. I don't know how hard it is for you to even digest all the 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 transgressions that are being placed upon melanated people throughout society. I think you should be able to take a hard, good look within themselves and see, if the tables were turned, how would you feel? And that's all we can really ask for right now from anyone else who is able to receive the privileges just based on the skin alone. So, with that being said, I will go over a couple of stocks from last week, from the shortened week. Memorial Day was on last week Monday, and of course, when there's a national holiday such as that, there is everything closes on the stock market. So I just want to start heading into the stocks themselves. It's like I said, it's been a this week. It's been pretty heavy and harsh. But I feel that all of this can I feel that we can get through all of this, right? I didn't trade a whole lot, but I did, gain a lot, and I still need to do like a chart that shows my gains. I, you know, planned on it this week, or this past weekend. Wasn't happening with all the social unrest that was going on, and just the emotions that I was dealing with, and with this happening. So, I can say that I'm pretty fortunate in a sense, but unfortunate in other ways too. So I will turn those things into blessings. So let's just get into this, right? There's a couple of stocks that I actually made money on, like MRSN. I know that they had like some drug that came out, and they had, just like most of these companies, they always have a drug, and then the drug is typically good in some way, shape, or form. It goes through some clinical stage of testing. This one, they had, was this the cancer drug? I know there was a couple of cancer drugs that was coming out this past week, but I've been waiting for this stock to actually um, to break $10. Actually, it took some time, and I know I just went through everything. I just went through all of my notes. I know I didn't really show you everything in my notes, but as I'm looking, I said like right here, I've been waiting for this stock to break $10 for a while, and yesterday it had a strong green day after consolidating between 9 and 10. It's up today. The pre-market high is 1575, right? So that gave me an idea. Yeah, because of the interim cancer study data, right? So let's look at this long-term chart. So if I zoom out, come on, computer. If I zoom out, you see that this stock has been trading since August of 2017. actually, right? So been around pretty much less than 3 years, and I kind of like stocks like this just because when they have like a limited amount of time, they're when I mean a limited amount of time, it hasn't been on the stock market too long. So because it hasn't been on the stock market too long, it still has room to run up or even down. So, and typically it runs up just because of sentiment alone before it eventually comes back down. And that's what happened here, back here. It was running high, and then, you know, well, it was trading actually kind of sideways in a range. And so this stock definitely loved trading within a range, and before it came back down. Right. So I was trading it around here, thinking it was going to break the $10 area, right? Because this is resistance right here, and we look for resistance, so we can buy the breakout. Here didn't happen. Here didn't happen, and so I just had to wait. And I waited a couple of days. So let's take this out. So what we're looking at thus far was the chart on the its year chart. So its year chart, each candlestick represents one day, and this is the entire, like its entirety of being around the stock market. So let's zoom in where we'll go to the 5 day chart. 5 day, each candlestick represents 2 minutes. Um, and last week, Tuesday, I bought some here, and then I bought some more over here. I was pretty much just buying at 11. From there, I think I did sell a little bit, right, over here in the after hours, just because I was unsure of what it could do the next day. And as we saw, it ran, right, and it ran pretty good. So if I was just a little bit more patient, I would have been able to capture more of this move here because it went from the 1070s to the 19 area. So that's $9 a share really overnight. But you really can't beat that in one day, for that price because, $10 a share to $19 a share, that's not a whole lot that you have to really worry about and capturing. So if we could see this, it was a multi-day breakout. Multi-day breakouts are a very good indicator to give you an idea that a stock could do something. So that's back here. It was around 10. It actually broke 10, went to 11. Well, it hit resistance at 11. So I bought some here. Just to backtrack, I bought some here. This was right around that 11 p.m. area, 11 p.m. time, and then I end up selling some apparently before buying some more. Then when I bought some more, this was in the pre-market. When I bought some in the pre-market, I end up selling. No, I should have bought this the day before because that doesn't make any sense. I would never buy in the pre-market. I'm not a big pre-market buyer. If I ever buy in the pre-market, typically I would lose. So that's why I know that was kind of wrong. So yeah, I bought it the night before because after selling it here and wasn't seeing it break a resistance at 11, I was kind of getting frustrated. But something was giving me more of an idea that it could go higher just because of its pattern, the way that it was set up. And the setup was suggesting that it was going to break 11 and go higher. And that's what it did. So I sold at, when I bought over here, this was, had it been the 1060 area. Let me look at my notes because I'm over here talking. It's not like I remember it all the way. A whole lot has been going on. So it's just trying to make sure that I know and I give you the right information. All right, so it was up and went to the pre-market. Oh, that's right. I sold my shares way too soon. I sold it at 11, or I bought at 11 and sold at 13 for an overnight swing trade. So that's what happened here. I bought over here, and then I sold in the pre-market. And the reason why I even sold in the pre-market is that typically what happens is that when a stock goes up so high during the pre-market, it when the market opens, it pulls back heavy. And typically you can get a dip buy, but it doesn't really go higher than where it originally was, and we'll see that in another stock. Um, we'll see that in other stocks. I know that car was like that earlier today. It was up and then it pulled all the way back down, but it actually started to go up higher later on in the day. And it was mainly based off of the news. The news was, the trials on their cancer drug and how well it was going. Um, so with trial news update, and it was pretty much a positive market day on that day, it just went up higher. So I left a good $7 a share on the table here. Um, I ended up buying some more. All right, I bought some here at 1780, and then I sold at 1860. So this is almost a full dollar a share. I didn't sell when it went up to $20, which I could have waited, but I didn't. And then it pulled back, and then once it pulled back, I bought some more at 2088, and then I sold at 2250. So, I was able to catch some of the move as it was going up higher. The only reason why I had it on that hour chart is just because, or yeah, the hour chart for the past 180 days is just because it's easier to see the prices. But here is really where the action is what you will see on the intraday. And buying intraday is probably the best, not the best, but gives you the idea that you can cross-reference your time frames between the minute, the hour, and the day, or whichever time frame that you use. But you want to make sure that you're using it as a means of cross-referencing. So even though I sold here and it was all in the pre-market, um, and I know you're not seeing what's going on in the level two, because that really does you a disservice. Seeing this real time where you can see where the bid and ask is going on, it gives you an idea of how the price action might be. But we see that the MRSN does drop down, and it drops down to the EMA, right? This 100 EMA, and it trades sideways from there. Now, typically, what happens, like I said, when a stock has all three exponential moving averages cross over the VWAP, it goes higher, and that's what happened here. It had everything, all the EMAs cross over the VWAP and going into the after hours. So, the 50 and the 100 were over the VWAP already. It was starting to go higher. All it needed was just the 200. And that was another thing. So typically when the 200 doesn't cross over the VWAP, I usually see that the price does come back down to the VWAP at least, but it didn't do that at all. Um, so so you know I didn't buy it back like I really wanted it to. Um, and I was thinking over here, but I was also thinking that it could have came down, and I thought it was going to come down to 1330 or 1387. It didn't, and I remember placing an order in the 13s and not executing. So I didn't. I definitely didn't want to chase it, and then you saw what it did up here, right? So um, since it didn't pull back like I thought it was going to, um, I ended up missing this whole move. But I end up getting more over here. So I think that part is the best learning lesson here is just identifying when the EMAs cross over the VWAP and how the price action, including the level twos, the technical setup, where the support, which was here at the 14 area, 14-ish area, 1387, where the support is and where the resistance is, which was almost at 1490. Um, so once it broke that 1490, it actually found higher move, and it went higher to the 18 and then even to the 19s. I'm not one to chase. This was a very, very nice move here. So this was a great learning lesson for anyone. And like I said, I don't really show all my wins just because I feel like you don't really learn a whole lot from the wins because you really take that complacent mindset that you won and you don't really need a review. But I felt like that this was a really good review just because of the news that it had behind it, the volume that it had behind it, and the technicals that it had behind it. It was really doing a triple threat in itself. Um, And then the same thing over here. So the three times that I did buy this stock, it was based off of those technicals, the volume, the support resistance. It all gave signs that it was going to go higher. So this was a very, very good stock. I think, you know, maybe later on, it should pull back because it's so overbought. When the stock is overbought like this, I prefer not to be in it because I don't know where my, I think that the risk is a whole lot higher than the reward, and I wouldn't know where to really put it at that point. I'm just gambling at that point. Um, Another learning lesson was ADAP. Um, this one was really, really good too. The only thing I didn't like was just the float size. The amount of shares that they had available is typically higher than what I would normally go for. It's 130 million plus. Um, but because it was moving higher, and I didn't really write notes on it because I was more focused on it using it as a day trade. But it also was just up, and I remember seeing it on the bottom ticker on CNBC, which I tend to look at when I am trading. I look at what is trading on the bottom, or what the bottom ticker says about certain stocks, and if the price range is pretty interesting, then I will look at it. Um, and that's what I did. So I came here and I said, you know what does it look like on the year chart? The year chart says that it had its first green day and it was going to start gapping up. It was like at the $8 area at the time when I initially first saw it. So let's go to the intraday chart. When we're on the intraday, we're looking at how the stock is actually moving. And this one, I like I bought it at a good place, right? I bought it at 870, but I bought more shares at 979, thinking that this move was going to happen, and I thought it was going to happen. It didn't happen while I was in it. It happened eventually later, and the only reason why I even was able to get this move here is because it was off the bounce, right? Once you have a move like this that goes so exponentially strong, and particularly in the pre-market, you don't want to get in too soon. You want to wait some time, and I usually say like let's wait until about 10:30 when to buy, and it was about 10:20 when I bought it. Or it was 10:20, 10:26, whatever. So it was in the 10:20 time, in the morning, when it came down. And as you can see, if you use the MACD and the RSI, you'll be able to get a better glimpse of how it did pull back and how it bounced. And when it bounced, it was finding support here. So I bought some. I said, why not? And when I bought, as it was consolidating, it ran up to 1164. I didn't want to sell there because I felt like it was going to retest the high, the pre-market high at 12. So that's why I ended up buying more. But when I was starting to see some at level two, I was starting to see some prices that was a little bit lower than 870. And remind you, this is I bought at 870. So um, I typically don't like to hold on to a stock if a price is coming down to where I bought it. I would rather be in a position where it never goes negative. Maybe if it goes like a dollar or two, then fine. But if it starts going like 20, 60, $80 in the negative, I don't like those. I don't like those odds. Now I'm playing with my back up against the wall, and certainly emotions are going to arise that I probably will not be able to control. So, even though I bought some more, I felt like I probably bought it a little bit prematurely, but I didn't. If I followed my instinct, I would have saw that it was going to go up higher, and that's what it did. So, like I said, the purple line is the VWAP, right? The variable weighted average price. It takes the average price and volume that entry participants into the market with the averages when they buy. If they're averaging the price of 880 and shares of 1,000, right? You get that factored in on this VWAP. So this VWAP now was having the EMAs cross over the VWAP, and that's what happened. And it was just only the 50 and the 100, but as you can tell with the 100, it was still like kind of, even though it crossed over, it still didn't cross over exponentially like it did with MRSN. Remember MRSN, how it just crossed over so nicely here? Like everything crossed over. And even the 200 EMA crossed over the VWAP after the hour market closed. So during the after hours, it was still trading. It was trading higher. So that's always a good sign. So with hmm, so with what is it, ADAP? It didn't do that. And you see how, even though like it did hit that market high, or it retested the high and then broke past it to 1270, it still came all the way down back to the 200 EMA before bouncing and trading just above the VWAP, right? And that was really good. That was a really good move, really smart move on my play, just to really get the meat of the move. If I just waited just a little bit longer, maybe I could have gotten in there. The MACD was showing some type of sell off a little bit, not a whole lot, but just enough for me to think that these two lines were going to cross below the x-axis, and just enough to see that the RSI was below that 50 area, that 50 point area. So once it starts hitting the 40s, I'm thinking it's going to go lower to oversold, but it never did, and it just maintained its strength. This was a really good play, so I like that a lot. It's more of a learning lesson than anything when it comes to my strategy, because I know that my strategy works. It's just more being patient with it. I bought more, but I still wasn't patient. Um, so, and then let's go over one more. Cars, one I wouldn't go over next week, because I'm in it now, and that's not one that I want to do. TTPH, that was one that I bought because they had some buyout rumor, and it was just not doing what I want at the time, so I ended up selling it. I got it. I lost 20 cents a share, so I was like, okay, I'm out. But they should have some type of news suggesting, that they would be sold out, right? And they've been adjusting. TTPH has been adjusting with another company, and because that they, I think it was the uh, XLRX, yeah, XLRX, yeah. So even though they've been trying to like adjust and trying to figure out what their price targets are, they still have been in some type of talk. So maybe it it gets bought out sooner than later. Maybe it doesn't, but it was just enough for me to know not to waste my money, not to waste my time. Um, I guess CRDF was one. No, before I go to CRDF, because that one really pissed me off too. Um, this one was another one that I was in, and I was a little stubborn on it. I shouldn't have been as stubborn with selling, because I could have sold it a whole lot sooner. But as you can see, I bought it at 1170, and I lost at 1090. I bought at 1170 because you can see the candlestick is very strong. The only thing it didn't do was cross over the 100-day EMA. And usually when it crosses over the 100-day EMA, you get a little bit more movement to the upside. And I thought it was going to go to 12. It didn't. There was a lot of pushback. So if we go back on this, you know, we'll see this, and we'll see the move. It had a great move. I saw it, during the 2:30 time, and it bounced off the 200 EMA. And this is, once again, it bounced off the 200 EMA, whereas the RSI is oversold. Um, and the MACD is starting to pick up momentum on the upside. So if I really actually played this good, I could have bought in more at 11.10 or 11.20, and then been in it or even sold it at 11.90. I did none of that. What I did was hold on to it thinking that it would have the next upside day. And that's the one thing with swing trades. You never know what the next market day is going to be. This is why I have um, Bloomberg, because at least with Bloomberg News, you get the idea. Oops, yeah, you get an idea of what the market could be. I don't know what's up with my internet right now. It's not loading, but essentially, you get an idea of what the market is, what could the market can do the very next day. And on this day, it was flat. It was pulling back and everything. So as opposed to selling it when I could have when the market first opened, um, I was thinking, yeah, it can come back up, and it did, but it didn't come back to the price where I bought it at, which was 11.70. So it was sold, right? I just took my loss, um, and just kept it moving. But this one, like I said, it just gave me more perspective on knowing that if I hold the stock one day, um, and I didn't buy it really at a good support, like here, I could have bought this at what, 11, like I said, 11.10. That is a better supporting price than the 11.70. Like my risk reward has been reduced significantly, because I was unable to buy when the stock touched the 200 EMA. So this is a really, really good lesson as well, where you get the bounce off the 200, and it goes higher into the after hours. It's just really knowing what could possibly happen if the futures are negative, um, before the market opens. And if the market opens, what plan or strategy do you have to get out if it doesn't do what you want it to do? And I don't think that I had that, and that's why I lost. Usually, typically, when I have a plan of action to get out, I don't lose a lot. But if I don't, like, this is a dollar, almost a dollar a share. This is 80 cents a share. Could have easily been lost. That's what, $180, $160. I could have reduced that tremendously. So that was all on me, and it gives me more insight and awareness of, like, where my flaws are, and that is very, very needed when it comes to stock trading. We did MRSN, we did ADAP, we did TTPH, this briefly, right? And then CRDF. This is one that I really want to, like, continue looking at. I tried buying it before, and it really didn't do what I wanted, so I got out. And you can tell it went a little bit lower the next day, but today it's green today, and which is good. This is Friday, this is Thursday. It's green today. Let's see what it does when the market opens tomorrow. But if a 2 minute, 5 day chart, we can see that not only did it go up pre-market, which I was kind of mad that I wasn't in on, and this is another reason why I said I do not buy during the pre-market. Knowing when to buy a stock is just as important to knowing when to sell, right? You need to have both. So I bought in the pre-market, and I know I was running off of emotions. That's why I ended up buying it. That's the only reason why I would buy in the pre-market. And then it was just, slowly, a slow down from there. It's starting to come down. So, yeah, this is one, even though it's relatively new, it's starting to pick up shares. It's a low float. Um, the volume, I should say, is picking up, and the float is pretty low at 13 million. It still shows that it has some type of downside, and that's what happened. It held that down. Well, it went to the downside, and then went a little bit lower holding support at 240 before coming up to $3. So at least it's still kind of moving in a way that I anticipated from before. It's overbought on the 1 hour year chart, 1 hour 180-day chart, and then momentum is starting to slow down a little bit. The 100-day, they notice RSI, MACD, big candlestick here, right? It can cancel out all the buyers. So maybe this would go a little bit higher. But other than that, I don't really see any, well, no, this, other than that, that was pretty much, my trading for the week. Mark on my Robinhood account just to see, what the movement is, particularly on how the EMAs and what they look like before they actually all cross. Does it hold support here? And it looks like it does at the 240-ish area. So, you know, that 100-day EMA may cross over the 200 EMA, causing this to hold support and go higher to test the 340s. So that would be nice to see. Flex didn't go over. Yeah, we went over flex. Sorry. Kenneth was one that I made money on overnight. I bought here. I bought on this day and sold on this day, but I decided to buy. Um, you know, I decided to buy again at 240-ish, I think it was, and then I ended up having to sell at 230s just because it wasn't doing what I thought it was going to do. And I was hoping it would. I thought it was going to go higher. I was really anticipating a test at $3, but it didn't. So, you know, that is pretty much my review for this past week. Sorry I'm not as bubbly or full of joy. I'll be ready for Tuesday's market open, but I definitely want to record this video. Um, oh yeah, I had the same issue here with BHR. It just wasn't doing what I wanted to do. Even though it crossed over the 50 EMA, it still found pullback. And even though it had some good price action, I actually could have sold it a couple of times in the 380-ish area. But I really look forward to those $3, not $3, $1 whole trade, where I can sell it for $1 whole. So if I bought it at 360, I want to sell it at like 460. So and then it happened. It pulled back. I cut my losses, and you know, I learned from it. Right, that level 2 is very important. So we did MRSN, we did flat, we didn't do liquid number liquidators. That was another one of my favorites that I earned some on. Didn't do fly. Fly was another great one. Car was a great one. So CNF was great. MRSN, Mark was subpar. So it was, it was overall a good trading week last week, and I anticipate carrying that over to this week. So if you have any questions, definitely follow me from below by clicking subscribe, or click the notification bell. So anytime I come out with a video, you can know. Click the thumbs up to say if you like this video. I will continue to show as much as I can. So hopefully that this helps. I'm about to go to sleep so I can be ready for Tuesday's market open. So thank you for listening, and to the next.